Hey yo, what's up guys, and welcome to the show. This is Let's Get Real with me, Brandonho. It's a show where everything is raw, everything is real stories of faith and real testimonies. But before that, let's get to the intro. Here we go. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a very special guest. Now, he and I, we go a long way back, alright? When I say a long way back, the reason why is because this man quite literally watched me grow up every single Sunday for the past, maybe since I was 12 years old, so maybe for the past 15 years of my life. So unknowingly, we have grown very close, especially in the last few years as well. I see him as a mentor to me, as a father figure to me, and he is a very prominent figure in the marketplace as well. He is an accountant by his vocation. I will leave all the introductions to him, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome to the show for the first time, Mr. Quah Poh Keat. Hello. Okay, Uncle Poh Keat, this is the time that you can say hello to all the listeners. Please go ahead.
Well, hello everybody. Thanks, Brandon, for inviting an old man like me to share.
You are very welcome. Now, I don't want to reveal too much of Uncle Poh Keat's age, right? Because, but I would say this: it is an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. Number one, and number two, you have the honor, I think, of season one. Probably, we don't know yet because we haven't finished the end of the season. But for now, I can say that you hold the title of the most mature guest on the show, coming in at 60 plus years old. Okay, we won't reveal, but 60 plus. But ladies and gentlemen, we have Uncle Poh Keat here with us today, as I fondly call him. And before we begin, all right, Uncle Poh Keat, we have a lot of young listeners out there. So marketplace to them is something that either they're about to get into, or maybe some of them have just started in the marketplace. So for a little bit of context, maybe let's just start with a brief introduction about who you are, what you do, and just a brief introduction about yourself. Go for it.
Well, Brandon, the very fact that you call me Uncle Poh Keat just shows that I must be really ancient.
Still young.
Well, I mean, I had a pretty long career, but unlike most of young people today, my career, although it spent 35 years, was just with one company.
Right. Your whole career.
Until I actually retired at 55, because those days you retire at 55.
Yep. Yeah. I love how you add those days. Yeah. But yes, could you tell us about what you do exactly? And, I know that you're an accountant. That's all I know. I know you're into finance. I know you're into tax. I know you're into a lot of figures and all. Now, tell me a little bit about that job, that work that you do. And also today, what are you doing?
Well, Brandon, actually, I wasn't supposed to be an accountant in the first place.
Right. So you weren't supposed to do it, become an accountant because you didn't want to, or because something happened?
You see, in those days, there was no such thing as career guidance. And in those days, I mean, if you are a decent student, you get streamed in the science stream whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about your time, no?
Our time also, if you get good results, you either go to science stream, you can choose a science stream or art stream. But the general consensus is that if you do decent, the word is decent, then yes, you get into the science stream. So same case with you, right?
Well, in my time, if you are decent, you go in the science stream, full stop. There is no such thing as choice, And you are strange enough not to choose science stream and you're decent, I think you have to be counseled. So I went to the science stream, and actually I joined my firm. I can even remember the date, 4th February 1972.
Wow.
And being my boss, of course, I joined an accounting firm.
Yeah.
My boss is an accountant. Why I remember 4th February 1972 was because my paycheck at that time was exactly for 24 days, nothing more. It was completely proportionate.
Right.
But actually, I mean, I was just like these young people during those time. After my A-levels, those days we call it A-levels. Today, I'm not sure what you call it today. It was A-levels and HSC. I went for a couple of interviews. I wrote in blind to some accounting firms because a friend of mine told me, we'll go to university in May. Let's in June period, let's earn some pocket money. So it was in a pursuit of earning some pocket money.
Mm-hmm.
I had interviewed 2 firms. The first firm look at me, look at projected A-level results, look at my Form 5 results, and they only had one question. They asked me, "Aren't you going to be a doctor? Aren't you going to take medicine?" I told him honestly, "No, I don't want to do medicine. It's not a choice of mine. I really do want to do medicine." Then shortly after that, I went for a second interview. I went interview another firm. Same question. I don't understand why both firms asked me the same question. Only one key question: "Aren't you going to do medicine?" And I told them honestly again, "No, I don't want to do medicine."
Now,
Actually,
why did they ask you that? Because of what, your results?
My Form 5 results were pretty decent, and my A-level results also was pretty decent.
Right.
So actually, the second firm believed me. So since the second firm believed me and offered me a job, and it was good money. In those days, I think even a office cleaner earned much more than me, because in those days, my first paycheck was 200 ringgit.
No way.
Yes, 200 ringgit. And can you imagine my boss cut 4 days of my pay? I was so stunned,
4 days because of prorate, is it?
Prorated.
Right.
Because I can't remember. I think probably Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. You report to on Monday, And I can't remember that time it was 1st of February. Why was it holiday? Maybe it wasn't even a holiday. I can't remember, because my boss is an accountant, so he makes sure you start on Monday. He wants to win the weekend. So I was only paid for 24 days work.
Right. And you even remember the amount?
Of course I remember. I can't remember the exact amount, but of course I remember how much I was paid per month.
Wow. And okay, this is a little bit about when you first started, but when I talked to you over lunch, I remember one conversation that we had, that someone really wanted you to become a doctor because you did apply for some form of scholarship, and this is after your employment, right?
Well, you see what happened was I joined the firm.
Yeah.
After joining the firm somewhere in May, because I joined in February, somewhere in May, my boss asked me to sign up for my articleship, and I did sign up for my articleship. But just before I signed for my articleship, during those days, the exams was held once a year. If you fail one paper, you don't refer. You repeat the whole part. In other words, and there were 3 parts. So if just fail one paper, you wait for 1 more year, and then you repeat everything.
Wow.
And the final exam, the final part, we call it part 3 those days, there were only 17 persons were going for the exam. Out of the 17 persons, only 2 passed. So it's like crazy.
Yeah.
But at that time, okay lah, since I'm enjoying my work, I got $200 per month, and then I got a big rise, because what happened was, during those days, I think that the government was saying, you must pay people more. So my boss gave me what he called, me and all the staff, what we call COLA, cost of living allowance. It was a princely sum, because the amount was 30 ringgit. So imagine I moved from 200 ringgit to 230 ringgit. That's a lot of money,
It's hard to imagine for me, right? But
of course, hard to imagine, because 230 ringgit, you guys probably spend it one day.
Yeah.
Or at least one weekend.
Correct.
I think you take your girlfriend out, you'll be more than 230 ringgit.
Exactly.
So that was the circumstance I was in. Then the universities opened. And I was actually offered my first, because when we apply with university, you will ask choice 1, choice 2, choice 3. So my first choice was biochemistry. They actually gave me biochemistry. University meaning University of Malaya. Because in those days there were only, I think, 3 universities in Malaysia. So University of Malaya offered me biochemistry second year straight away. I skipped my first year, I go straight in the second year. And a few days later, the university offered me medicine, because that was my choice too.
Yep.
That's why I was honestly telling my 2 potential employers, I don't want to do medicine, because my choice was actually biochemistry. They never asked me about biochemistry. They asked me about medicine. So I wasn't telling a lie at that time. You know? So when my colleagues found out that I had offer for biochemistry, they told me, Poh Keat, you better get out. Look, we have been here for 6-7 years. You hadn't even passed the exam, and you want to stay on? You crazy or what? You know? And out of 17 people, the whole country, only 2 passed. You are mad. And then when they heard that I was offered medicine, he said, we already told you are mad. We now confirm you're really mad.
Because it's a no-brainer, right?
Of course. Because in the university, I mean, in the first place, you actually, you go into medicine, you're already chosen. You're one of the chosen ones. And there were, I think, at those days, probably around 100, 120 students. The whole country, imagine it. The whole country, 120 students who actually will get to do medicine. And there's only one university in the whole country offering medicine. So in that sense, it's a no-brainer. And accounting, nobody heard about accounting those days. You know, choice 1 was medicine, probably choice 2 engineer, choice 3 lawyer. You know, accountant, I'm not sure even make it to top 5 choices. And there I was, and I decided to stay. And I mean, the offer came. You know, it came by post. I ignored the post. So I said, I don't care. I already made my choice.
Yeah.
Then a telegram came. In those days, you know, you don't have email and things like that. Telegram is the second fastest way to communicate.
What is the first?
First is normal post.
Oh, okay.
But those days, normal post take about 3 days. Not like today. Today could take 1 week. But in those days, it was 3 days post.
Right.
And then the telegram came asking me to report to the medical faculty of University of Malaya. And I ignored it. Then an office boy came to my house. And young man at the time I just finished my A-levels. Of course, I panicked. What am I going to do, man? This guy even sent the office boy to come to my house and ask me when am I going to do, when I'm reporting to the medical faculty. So I told my best friend, hey, I need a lift. Can you give me a lift on your motorbike? Those days, I don't even have motorbike. I just had a motorbike myself. But he took me my motorbike to the University of Malaya. So I met the dean of medical faculty. I still remember his name, Professor Danaraj. The first thing he said to me is, where have you been? We started college 1 week already and you've been absent.
Yeah.
So I said, sir, I actually don't have the money. I can't afford to do medicine. So he said, why? You should come and see me. I will make sure that I will arrange a scholarship for you. And then, wow, so one excuse gone already. So I said, sir, but actually the scholarship can cover me. But I did the money also for my family. But actually the more important reason was because I signed my contract. And I felt that even though it was like normal those days to break the contract, I felt that I had to honor whatever I signed. So I stayed on and I didn't join the medical faculty. That's why I ended up in the accounting profession instead of the medical profession.
Wow, I cannot believe that the dean even sent his office boy to come and get you.
I think those days, the dedication of the deans are probably not what we see today. They really care for the people.
Right.
Much more. Maybe because it's much smaller.
Yeah.
Today I'm sure, of course we have a lot of caring deans and so on, but the student population is much, much bigger.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine there were only probably 120 of us who actually were admitted to the medical faculty in those days. But I made my choice at that point in time that I would stay on in the firm for 2 good reasons. One was because I signed my contract and I want to honor my contract in spite of very good advice from my friends that you're crazy, you're mad, what are you doing in this place? Can you see that we're stuck here 6-7 years, still didn't qualify?
Yeah.
And in spite of the fact that the university was actually, asking me to go and report.
Yeah. Now you mentioned a little bit about your family just now. Because that was the first excuse that you used. You say you couldn't afford, because medicine is not cheap, by the way. I assume today is very expensive if you want to study medicine. I assume back then it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be as expensive, but I assume it's not cheap as well. So you mentioned a little bit of your family. Could you tell us a little bit of a background as well? Maybe what was growing up for you like? Even with your mom, your dad, how was it like growing up for you?
You see, I mean, basically, I mean, my dad was very old. Okay, I mean, I won't give away too many secrets, but my dad was born in 1899.
1899.
Yes, two centuries ago.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Okay. He had me when he was 53.
Wow.
So, but by the time I had to go to school, he had retired. And we were fairly comfortable. But what happened was he fell very ill, and he got ill health, and that caused him not to be able to do anything after he retired. And so my mom, who was uneducated, had to actually go out to work. And when you look at that's why I say that I got attracted by the 200 ringgit, because my mom's job was 50 ringgit per month. And in those days, I actually, when I grew up, I had a fairly okay results in Form 3. So I was given a scholarship by, I think, what they call the Apex Club, which is equivalent to today where you have the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, and people like that. So, but what happened was in Form 4 and Form 5, I was giving tuition.
Right.
I was giving tuition Monday to Saturday. So it was a crazy life that I was leading. I was giving tuition Monday to Saturday. I earned a princely sum of 105 ringgit per month giving tuition. Can you imagine 105 ringgit per month giving tuition, and then earning 200 ringgit per month when I start my first real job? That's a lot of money.
Yep.
But on top of that, actually, we had a small little garden. So I grew vegetables. And I grew things like 4-angle beans, long beans, things like that. And I traded with the vegetable retail guy who would butter my vegetable for his fish. So in the sense that I sort of literally earned more than my kids when I was young.
Wow.
So when I was given scholarship in Form 4, and then Form 5 when I go to Form 6, I didn't ask for it. This time, the Apex Club offered me scholarship, but I told them that since I was earning quite a bit of money, can they give a scholarship to somebody? I think my mother was really shocked when they heard that I turned down the scholarship. But I felt that at that time, hey, I'm earning some money, man, and there are other people more needed than me. So I felt that at that point in time, I should give up that scholarship to somebody else.
Wow. I think without even realizing, how you plant vegetables, you barter with the local, trader, and yourself giving tuition and all. I think these qualities in you led you to a lot of later things in life. I think these experiences sort of set a foundation for you from very early on, from a young age, right? Now, I want to ask you about, we've heard a little bit about how you became an accountant instead of doing medicine, or even though you were offered being to do medicine. Now, one thing I would like to ask you: where did Christ seep in all of this that you've just told me? And where did you first hear about God? Were your family a Christian, for example? Were your parents Christians?
Well, I mean, my parents are both non-Christians, and thank God. They were converted, and both the conversions were very, very dramatic.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah. Briefly, please tell us. I want to hear.
I'll tell you about my mother. My father was quite dramatic, but I'll tell you about my mother.
Okay.
What happened was my wife Bing Chu at that time was expecting our third child.
Yeah.
One day we came back to the house, and my eldest girl told us that grandma is having some chest pains. So we rushed her to the hospital. And the doctor said, look, Poh Keat, this doctor is a friend of ours, family friend of ours. And the doctor said that Poh Keat, maybe a bypass, minimum and angioplasty. So we came back to the house, and my mother knew what the result was because the doctors told her what the result was. So I asked my mother, are you prepared that we pray for you? She said, okay, pray for us, pray for me. So I asked some of the church friends to come along and pray for my mother. And my mother, they asked her, what do you want us to pray for? She said, pray that I don't need to go through the angioplasty or any bypass because my daughter-in-law is expecting, and I want to save this money for her delivery. Because all our 3 children were by cesarean. So we prayed. Next day we went back to the hospital. Actually, I was a man of very little faith. But amazingly, when the doctor checked, there was no more blockage.
Wow.
So she didn't have a bypass. She didn't have the angioplasty. But that was the beginning of search for God. So one day she even had a dream. And she dreamt about 3 persons at that time who had passed on already. One of her sister, 2 of her sisters, and my late father. And she saw a halo on my late father and one of the sisters, but no halo on the other sister. And she immediately said that these 2 had halo because they are Christians, and the third one don't have any halo because she's not a non-Christian. And that led her to search for God. So she was introduced to a church, actually the Lutheran church, and you won't believe it, the person introduced to the Lutheran church was a fellow devotee in the temple.
Wow.
You know, and
because she was a very staunch Taoist, or if I'm not mistaken.
She was a Kuan Yin follower.
Right. Yep.
And she had her own followers. Every Kuan Yin festival, she would go and stay in the temple for I think 2-3 days to clean up the temple, to prepare the thing, and she was very, very devoted. So she went to church. After some time searching, she decided she wanted to become a Christian.
Wow.
So she went back to the Kuan Yin temple and asked the spirit and said that I've been following you all these years. This is her conversation with the medium. Said I've been following you all these years, but my son's a Christian, and I'd like to follow my son to become a Christian. Is that okay?
She asked the medium.
Yes.
Okay.
This is what she related to us. And through the medium, the spirits replied and said that your son's God is a powerful God. Go and follow your son's God.
The medium told her themselves.
Yeah. So she told the medium, to the spirit through the medium, then I have to say goodbye to you. And then the medium replied, yes, you will have to say goodbye to me.
Wow. Yeah, I just had chills listening to that story because, wow, I think it's undeniable. This is God working through your mom. Yeah. And you say she was a very devoted follower some more.
Well, she had her own disciples, okay?
So she has some form of ranking, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's one of the inner circle, I think.
And how, as a family, as for you and your wife, Auntie Beng Chu, how did you take when she finally came to Christ?
Of course, we were overjoyed because my father became a Christian. Then she became a Christian. I came from a non-Christian family.
Yeah.
And then later in life, her own mother and her own father became Christians.
Wow.
So actually, and all 4 had passed on. They all became Christians.
Wow, God is so good.
Yeah.
And how about yourself, Uncle Poh Keat? Because you said you came from a non-Christian family. Having a background who's a mom, such a devoted follower, even have some form of ranking, it's, I think, a bit difficult. Even your dad wasn't a Christian. How did you come to know Christ? Where you first heard about Jesus? And what made you take that step of faith and say, yes, Lord, I want to make you my personal Lord and Savior? How was it for you?
Well, I came from a mission school. Okay. And through the mission school, you actually hear about God.
Yep.
You know, and it was after Form 3. Between Form 3 and Form 4, there's a fairly long holiday those days. So a friend of mine invited me to church. That time I didn't realize it, that he invited me to church, and he got his bigger brother to pounce on me and share me the gospel using the bridge illustration. I already knew the gospel. I actually also felt cornered. To put him off my track, I agreed, and then I became a Christian. Yeah, use the word became a Christian. And I was doing that for quite a few months, and it was a time that he sort of mentored me in the faith. I mean, we go through Bible studies, we go through scripture memories, stuff like that.
Yep.
But it was all very much of, you can say, head knowledge rather than heart knowledge. Then I think quite a few months later, he invited us, he meaning my mentor, invited us all to the Grady Wilson campaign. Grady Wilson actually is an associate of Billy Graham, and he held a campaign in Malaysia. And basically when we went to the campaign, and I still remember the words of Grady Wilson. He says that you have 3 years to live and the whole world to win. What are you going to do? I woke up because I suddenly realized that I have to do something. I mean, you can't live your life as normal anymore. I would say that really is my background of how I built up my foundation. That was a night that I felt that I truly accepted God being the Lord in my life. And I made a decision at that point in time that I would read my Bible through once a year.
Wow.
I have done it since that time. I was 16 then, and I've done it. Well, you don't want to show, you want to tell anybody my age?
It's okay. I think by this time.
So I've done it.
Yeah.
More than 50 times.
Wow.
Some years I can only reach Ezekiel. Some years I reach Malachi. Some years I reach 1st or 2nd Corinthians. Some years I finish Revelation. Some years I go beyond Revelation and go back to maybe somewhere in Judges, things like that. But generally, I try to make a goal to finish reading my Bible once a year. I do many versions. I do King James Version, NIV, all sorts of versions, because you can't be reading the same version every year, because when you read the verses, you know what's the next verse already.
Yeah. Now, also, I want to go back to a little bit about your career, because we sidetracked a little bit to hear about your testimony, which is amazing, by the way. I didn't know about this about you. Knowing you for 15 years, Uncle Poh Keat, if you don't tell me today, I would have never known actually that you had such an encounter, that your mom was also such a strong devotee. Your career, you came into accounting, but then after that you started doing a little bit of taxation as well, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Lord opened a lot of doors for you. But there were a little bit of sometimes where you was like, oh, should I do taxation, or like why should I do, or things like that. So take us through from when you first started, from that 35 years of career experience, right? When you first started, and then how you delve into taxation.
Well, I finished my accounting exam within the prescribed 4 years. So I joined, let's say, 4th February 72.
Yep.
I qualified in December 75, and I got my membership as an accountant in May 76. So it was within the 4 years. And my boss at that time, they felt that if you had a decent staff, they send you overseas.
Yeah.
So I got sent to London. And also in those days, whatever the boss tells you to do, you do. You don't ask them, why this, why that, can I do this, can I do that. You just be a very obedient servant. So I went to London, and I told my boss, I went to join the audit side of the practice. And I told my boss I want to specialize in management consulting, which really was my true love. Because one of my qualifications, I was actually a management consulting qualification. So I told my boss I want to become a management consultant. The London guys told me that, look, you're just too young to become a management consultant. Nobody wants to consult you lah. I was only 23 lah. Yeah. So he said that he wants me to stay in audit for 2 years, and then after that he will move me to management consulting. But my boss had other ideas. He never tell me. I don't know when he had this idea. So after 1 year, he decided that he dropped by and see me. Although he's a very stingy boss, he pays me by the dot, proportionally. But he's a good boss. He visits London for various reasons, and every time he visits London, he will drop by and see me. So one this trip, he told me, Poh Keat, I want you to specialize in taxation. I said, what? I'm an auditor. I want to become a management consultant. You want me to do tax? Of course, I didn't say those words to him. That was all in my mind. So I said, okay, yes, sir. Okay, I'll specialize in tax.
Yeah.
So I decided that I will take my ATII, this is a tax qualification in the UK. So I did my ATII in the UK, and while I self-studied, because I didn't go for any classes, things like that, so I self-studied. And I bought, at that time they called the Butterworth textbooks, so I bought the Butterworth textbooks, I bought the Income Tax Act and things like that, and I read it, and I went for the exam. But just outside the exam hall, one fairly old gentleman, to me at that time old, but now I'm much older than him. So this gentleman spoke to me and says, do you know section, I can't remember what section, something like section 482, no, can you differentiate between 482 and 484? Oh my God, 482, 484, I don't even know what's 482, don't talk about differentiating 482 and 484. So I said, okay, let me look at what's 482 first. So I said, you're not prepared? I said, yeah, I'm prepared. Do you know that I said this exam, I think he said 7, 8 times. Every time I fail, this is my 8th time, no? So I said, my goodness, I don't know 482, 484. And this guy said the exam 7 times already and he failed. And I said, what do you do? I'm a tax inspector. I said, he's a tax inspector. Tax inspector said 7 times failed. He knows 482 and 484. I don't even know 482. And here I am sitting and thinking that I can pass. Crazy. Wow, I tell you. You talk about cold sweat, there's cold sweat.
Right before you went in somewhere.
Correct. And he's so bad to me. 20 minutes before the exam. Yeah. Those days you can also bring your textbooks in because, they know if 482, 484, the X are so big. I mean, so the textbook is so tall, and it take a long time. You don't know the law. You cannot find it. So you're allowed to take your textbooks into the exam hall. No. So I took the exam. Thank God I passed. But I don't know whether my friend passed or not.
You don't know whether he passed or not.
I don't know.
He could be still sitting it today also. You don't know.
I can't be. By now you're long retired.
Now, and then after that, so you went into taxation after that. You sort of specialized in taxation.
Well, before that, I struggled as a Christian. I struggled really badly as a Christian in the UK.
Right.
That was during the period I met my current wife and then my girlfriend.
Your current wife and your only wife.
Yeah, only wife.
So that's when you went anti-Beng Chu as well.
Yeah.
Right.
But just a few months before I left the UK, I woke up from my spiritual slumber, my struggles. I'll tell you this part afterwards. So what happened was I signed up for what in the UK called the Keswick Convention. I went to York. That's where the Keswick Convention was held. And it was straight from London to York, and I took a train up there. And I think there were 500-600 people. I can't remember, but there were a lot of people. Okay. During that time, I made friends with one English boy, and we went through the Keswick Convention together. First time I met him anyway at the convention. I think he sort of took a pity on me and asked me, told me that his father's coming up to York to pick him and bring him down to London. And would I like the trip? The accountant blood in me never died. So I say, oh, save money, no need to buy the return ticket from York to London. Of course lah, I say yes lah. So I hop onto into the car. I think the journey from York to London is about 4 hours or so lah. So it's a long drive there. So the man asked me, young man, what are you doing? And what are you going to do? I said, I'm an accountant. And then he said, and what's happening in your life? He said, well, I will soon be going back to Malaysia. But when I reach Malaysia, I'm supposed to be a tax accountant. So he asked me, what do you feel? I said, I'm not happy. I said, why are you not happy to be a tax accountant? He says, and you can show how naive I was. I said, I just became revived as a Christian. And now I have to go back to Malaysia and become a tax accountant. And tax accountants help people to cheat the government. So that was my idea of a tax accountant, that you are out there to help people to cheat the government. Yeah. So how can I reconcile my faith that I just rediscovered, and my profession, which is my life, And then he told me, well, actually, sometimes the government actually may not be collecting the right amount of taxes from people, and some people need advice. And that's when you come in as a tax accountant, that you advise them what's the right thing to do. If you need to pay the tax, you pay the tax. But sometimes you have right not to pay the tax. Then you have to explain to the client and explain to the government, the tax authorities, where the law is. So it's like a light bulb moment for me. And literally, it really helped me to settle in, to understand that this is the role of a tax accountant, and I am still doing something which is honorable before God. That was my big struggle. So I asked him, sir, what do you do as a profession? What do you do? He replied to me, I'm a tax accountant. So my goodness, he's a tax accountant. And do you know, I've never met him again. I never met him before. I never met him again. I don't even remember his name.
Right.
But God knew that I needed him to just tell me what is the right thing to do.
Wow. That's fantastic. And then after that, you joined KPMG, right?
No, I was always in KPMG.
You're always in KPMG, right?
Yeah. Why you let go of my name of my firm?
Oh, sorry. Am I not supposed to mention KPMG? Is that okay?
Well, I suppose you already let go.
I already let go. Let the cat out of the bag. Yeah. But you were there for, my goodness, I think
35 years.
35 years.
I was a staff for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I became a partner very young. I was probably one of the youngest partner, maybe even the youngest partner firm, because I became a partner at 30.
30 years old, you became a partner.
I became a partner at 30. I became a profit sharing partner at 33.
That's very, very young. That's insanely young.
Yeah.
You're probably one of the youngest, or like you said, the youngest.
But I was fairly decent at my work also.
I think you don't give enough credit to yourself, right, guys? If you guys are listening to this right now, he says the word decent a lot. But there's a lot of things that he hasn't shared, actually, which I've spoken to him over lunch. In terms of his academic achievements, in terms of his career achievements, Uncle Poh Keat is a very humble man. That's why he uses the word decent a lot. So I'm going to help him blow his trumpet for him, okay? If you guys may not know this, but in audit, right, in accounting, in a corporate, there is a step to climb, right? You become an executive, then maybe you become a senior exec, then assistant manager, then you become senior manager, then after that director, executive director. It's a long process to actually become a partner. You have to go through a corporate ladder. And to become a partner at 30 years old and a profit sharing partner at 33, honestly, when I first heard it, it's something that I've unheard of. Up till today, I still haven't come across anyone. Maybe now, I don't know, but I haven't come across anyone. In your time, did you come across anyone who became a partner this young?
No. But I just was lucky. I just happened in the right place, the right time.
So you had no idea. You thought maybe this was normal, or this was
No. I knew I was the youngest.
Yeah.
But I knew I was the youngest ever who was admitted.
Right.
But I felt that I was just happened in the right place, the right time. I was just lucky.
I would love if anyone who's watching right now, who's maybe from an audit firm, who's an accountant, let us know whether you know anyone who became a partner at such a young age. I would love to see if this record is still, maybe it's been beaten, or maybe you're still holding the record.
I'm not sure.
You're not sure. I'm not sure as well. That's why I'd love to know. But another thing is that when you did...
Well, there may be... People admitted maybe young, I don't know. But for a big firm,
yeah,
we are a big 8 firm or a big 4 firm today.
Yeah.
it will be not easy lah.
Not easy, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I think you downplay your achievements a lot here. You say the word decent a lot, but I think it's very much more than decent. When you did your examination, was it ACCA or something like that?
Well, I actually, when I was taking my exam, I was doing my CPA concurrently my ACMA.
Together.
Together.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Now, again, I would like to point this out. What kind of awards did you get for doing these exams?
I was fortunate. I actually was the top student for all 3 parts of my CPA. Probably it has been equal, but can't be broken up because you're top student for all 3 parts. And I was doing ACMA concurrently at 5 parts, and I can't remember, I won quite a few awards. I think the top student for 2 parts, second best for 1 part, and a prize winner of quite a few subjects.
Now, when you say top student, right, can you give a little bit of context? You were a top student in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Indonesia, what?
Well, CPA is a Malaysian exam, so CPA, Malaysian exam is local.
Yeah.
But ACMA is an international exam, so it's global.
Right. So, yeah, that's what I would like to say.
Actually, I did my ACMA all in 18 months, 5 parts. And I was doing it concurrent CPA, and I was actually a top student. I can't remember off the go. I think 2 parts, 1 second highest, and quite a few subject number 1.
Wow. And that's why I say you use the word decent from the very early on of this conversation. You use the word decent in your Form 3. You will say you're decent SPM, decent A levels, decent at work. Decent. I think you used the word decent too meekly because you were.
There were no other people taking the exam who was good. That's why I was lucky.
You see lah, that's what I mean lah. He's still trying to be humble after this lah, huh? But he was. I remember when he told me, I was mind blown. I never knew all of this, and I know you don't speak about this very, very often. But I would just like to also, because I know that after even all these achievements, what is most important about you is that you always give glory to God. Somehow, you always give the glory back to Jesus. You don't shine the spotlight on yourself. And I think that's an amazing trait that you have and one that I respect a lot. Now, you mentioned something about a spiritual slumber that you woke up from earlier, which you would like to touch on. Maybe you just tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I left Malaysia, you see, the thing was, when I joined KPMG, unfortunately, those times, in almost every church, you find that most of the older people, more mature Christians, are either civil servants or teachers. Very, very few business people. So when I joined the accounting firm that I was attached to, I had no mentor, and but I was good that just before I joined, a few of us, my little group, we were studying the book of Daniel. So the book of Daniel, the character of Daniel was actually my mentor from the Bible. But I don't have a life mentor. And because I sort of was so shocked that only 2 out of 17 people passed the final exam, I said that I better study when I joined KPMG. I was still attending church. I was decently involved in church, but not very much. And I trotted along as a Christian. During that time, actually, I actually had a few, you can say, people that I was following up with. Because I led some people to Christ, and I was following up with them, things like that. So I was quite involved. And by the time I left for the UK, although as a Christian, I would say that I hadn't turned nominal yet. But I would say that I was maybe a lot more than just a Sunday Christian, but not as on fire as I could have been immediately after the Grady Wilson campaign. So when I went to the UK, first time in my life, not even first time in my life, I traveled outside Malaysia and Singapore. And suddenly you have to take an aeroplane all the way there. And those days, no direct flight. I think the plane had to land in Bombay or either I think it's Bombay before you go off to London. So it was really a long flight. No friends, nothing, absolutely. I went to the Chinese church in London. Then I met this girl in where we stay. She was a non-Christian. But I got interested in her, She was much younger than me, but we sort of developed a relationship, and I had this struggle. I had this struggle that, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be a Christian, and even at that age, the teacher very much drummed to me that, you shouldn't go around with a non-Christian girl. No, don't be unequally yoked. And one day I wake up and say, why am I unequally yoked? And next day I wake up and say, but I need a girlfriend. And I want a girlfriend. Not only I also want a girlfriend. So it's a very bad struggle. And that was the period, you can say the low period in my life as far as spiritual walk was concerned. And this girlfriend of mine, not only do I want to become a Christian, seems to be so hard. So it's a much bigger struggle. But even though she was a non-Christian, she don't seem to have anywhere going to become a Christian. She still sent me not just Christmas card lah. Actually, she sent me Easter card, And one day we were in my room, and she was challenging God. You're not real, and so on. So I said, you don't simply say things like that, because even though I was fallen away already, I still had the fear of God lah. But she got no fear of God because she's not Christian, what. Then I went to the washroom. And she looked at the card, and there's this Easter card that she sent to me on the wall, and there were around this Easter card there were many other cards. And she spoke to the card because that card had the picture of Jesus on the card, because Easter was. So she said, the card, if you are real, you better show me, man. Because I'm a believer in Taoism, and there are miracles there, things happen. But Christianity, what are you talking about? She actually talked to the card. No, I don't know what's wrong with her, man. I thought it was mad. She's madder. She can talk to the card. So I was in the washroom. Suddenly she yelled, come out. I said, why come out? The card was moving violently. Only the card that she sent me with the image of Christ, the Easter card, was moving very, very violently. All the other cards around there was completely still. And there was no wind, no window, but that Easter card was moving violently. And that really shook her. By the time I came out, the card stopped moving. Of course the card stopped moving. I never insulted Christ. So that made her search for God.
Wow.
And that's how she finally became a Christian. And that, because she became a Christian, I sort of felt at peace. And that's how I actually went back to church regularly, and it's how I ended up in Kids Week.
Wow. I think, Uncle Poh Keat, I think it's very evident that your whole life, really, the Lord has just been leading you every step of the way. And even up to now, when you're also a mentor to many other people, like, people like myself who look up to you as well, I think it's a result of all of this and how you depend on God. It's amazing to hear all these stories because, like I said, in a normal circumstance, I see you every Sunday, I would say. And never in my life, I would imagine you having these kind of stories and very, very adventurous stories and very miraculous stories also, by the way, about your mom, about even your past, your relationships as well, and also about your career. And you have had an illustrious career over the past 35 years. Even now, I know you are someone who cannot sit down alone and do nothing. You play badminton a lot as well, I know. Although Auntie Beng Chiu disallow you, and Auntie Beng Chiu always hound at you. But she's the boss, right?
Yeah, she's so happy about MCO because I couldn't play badminton. And later, now RMCO, the rules came out earlier and said that people above 60 cannot play at night. She even happy also. They still cannot play. And the weekend cannot play. Also happy.
Oh my goodness, so funny, like you both. But you both are a couple that I know. When I look at you guys, I hope that Phoebe and myself will also grow up to be a couple who honors God, like just the both of you do. And we really look up to both you and Auntie Beng Chiu, and I hope you know that. And I don't say this enough, but you are very humble, man. I want to share something about Uncle Poh Keat, which is very close to my heart as well. When I first, nobody know this, right? And when I first started the idea of having this show, you were one of the people I spoke to about, right? I had lunch with him. I told him I wanted to start this show. I said this is something that the Lord placed in my heart. And I said to start a show like this, you need money. You need resources. It's not easy, all right? These things I know we don't own it right now, but we need a seed fund. We need some form of capital. And back then, I remember this was sometime last year. I cannot remember the month. And I was speaking to you, and you told me, hey, Brandon, after speaking to you about the vision of the show and everything like that, and you asked me, what do you need? I said, yes, we do need some form of capital to start the show. And Uncle Poh Keat, on that day itself, he said, okay, you want this amount? I'll give you half the amount. And the next week, he wrote me a check instantly and gave me my very first, our very first capital to start this show, Let's Get Real. And I want to tell you, Uncle Poh Keat, that the fact that today you're sitting here with whatever you're seeing right now, you have a big part to play in this show as well. And I think on behalf of all of us, we want to say thank you to you. And you got the ball rolling for me. Yeah. So thank you so much for believing in what we do and also appearing as a guest today. And I really, really am very grateful for that. Yeah.
Well, I think, Brandon, you guys are doing a great job. And I think you guys are, we all have to be relevant to our own generation. I hope I was relevant to my generation. And I believe that you will be relevant to your generation. And the best way to reach others is your own generation, because they know who you are. You know, they can see what you do. You know, but yeah, I thank God for my career, and actually, quite amazingly, also how I finally retired from KPMG. You know, when I finally I had a decent career in KPMG. When I finally retired from KPMG, I mean, I would say, besides God, the three people that really helped me very much throughout my whole career was actually Auntie Binju.
Yeah.
I've got a prayer group in where I stay, and I saw a prayer group in KPMG. And I can tell you about this prayer group. So it's an amazing story. But I just tell you, just before I retired, about a year plus before I retired, Auntie Binju and I were praying one day, and suddenly God spoke through Auntie Binju, says, when you reach 55, just move on from the firm. Don't look back. Just move on. So I said, wow, very clear instruction. But move on to do what? God never told me. God only told me move on. No, and that was, you can say something that, yeah, we all retired 55. But it was a nice little journey, you know, because the world was great, you know, the economy in the world was fantastic, the firm was doing well. I mean, the firm was doing well. I'm only just decent because I got a great team there. And you know, it's something that you look back and say, wow, fantastic place to be in. But God says, tell me, move on. Don't look back. I never knew that in 08-09 was the worst recession until this round, when we got the GFC, the global financial crisis. And at the end of it, my own secretary told me, Mr. Quah, I'm so thankful that you retired. Had you not retired, you would have maybe killed yourself physically, because you will try to do everything possible for the firm. So what I'm trying to say is, God has timing is perfect.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes He doesn't tell us everything, you know. I mean, God told me to move on, but God didn't tell me to move on to what. And I actually, until shortly before I retired, I still didn't know I was supposed to move on to what.
Yep. And then the recession happened.
Yeah.
Just 1 year before you retired.
No, 1 year after I retired.
1 year after you retired. Yeah.
Because I retired in 07, and the recession happened 08-09.
Wow. This is the Lord really being so real in your life.
Yeah.
Now, Uncle Poh, before I let you go, you know, you shared a lot about your life, you shared a lot about your past, you shared a lot about your career, about your how you came to where you are today. Is there any last words? Because I believe that, you know, even the younger generation hearing this, they could be thinking, some of them could be thinking, who is this person? Why, you know? But I always believe that your generation had a lot of nuggets of wisdom, and if only the younger generation would be a little bit more attentive, you know, to what you guys have to say, I believe we can learn a lot and we can receive a lot from you guys as well. So would you have any last words that you'd like to share? Anything the Holy Spirit impresses upon you? Yeah, go for it.
I think a few things. One is prayer is very important. I still remember in 1979, three of us came together, three the two guys knew each other. I just came back from London, and the two of them approached me in the corridor and says, Quah, would you want to start a prayer group in the firm? 1979. I agreed because I was the most senior of the three. I had to ask the partners for permission because I wasn't a partner then. I became a partner in 1982. And we started the prayer group in KPMG. So the prayer group in KPMG has been started by the three in 1979 and it's still there today.
Wow.
That is 1980, 41 years old. The prayer group. And power of prayer is very important. And Auntie Benju is an anchor to me because she is also a woman of prayer. We prayed a lot and God shows a lot of things. And thirdly, I have a prayer group also in where I stay. I used to stay in another place called Damansara Jaya, and we were struggling whether to move on or not. And one day we were praying, and God said, we asked God, shall we move to this new place? And God told us, you up to you. It's your choice. You stay. You move on. You start a new work there. So I spoke to Auntie Benju and said, what shall we do? So Auntie Benju said, okay, we'll start a new work there. So we went to the new work there, and at the new place, I knew nobody there. And I asked God, you want me to start new work here? You give me 5 persons. How to start work without people? God gave me 5 persons. And we moved in 2000, and about 2001 or so, we started a prayer group there. And it's all interdenominational, and the group's still there. You know? And that's why I say the power of prayer is very, very important. Yep. And amazingly to me is, the three of us who started the prayer group in my old firm, one of the guys, after going around the whole world, Singapore, US, Middle East, France, ended up staying in where I stay. And the third person who actually started a group together with me, also one day called me up and said, hey, Poh Keat, my brother moved in and he's a non-Christian. Now it's your responsibility to convert him. I said, how can you do that to me? How can I convert your brother? But amazingly, his brother became a Christian while he stayed in our neighborhood. So it was like a story whereby my prayer group, my firm, and the prayer group in where I stay, we have interlinks.
Wow.
I will say these few things. One is have a mentor. Very important to have a mentor, because I grew up without a mentor. And the mentor will, not because he's clever, but because he has gone through more mistakes, and he can help you in your walk. My mentor is Daniel, the book of Daniel. Thirdly, I also believe in a few things. One is, I also believe in Isaiah 43, 1 and 2, talking in terms of God's our creator, our redeemer. He knows us by name. And what's important to me is, he says that when you walk through the waters, you will not be passed away. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. Not if you walk through the water. Not if you walk through the fire, but when. In other words, problems always happen. You don't know when it will happen, but it will happen. And when it happens, can you say that Jesus is in the storm together with me? Thirdly, I will say that, there are always lots of challenges in our life. And Zechariah 6:4 talks about not by might, nor by power, but by thy spirit. You can be a shining light in the marketplace. I made it a point that I will do what's right before God. There are a clear conscience before God and man. Not just God, but God and man. There are many, many decisions you have to make that sometimes it may be legal, but is it also ethical? And I always ask myself, if I make this decision, can I stand up before God and man and say that I am okay? I think one of the greatest joy I had when I finally stepped down and retired from KPMG was one of my rival firms, the leadership actually asked me out for lunch and said that we just had to do this for you because we find that you are somebody that we respect in the marketplace. And there's something from your own competitor. You know, I mean, from your firm, you would expect something like that. But from your competitor, for them to ask you out for lunch, I think that's great. And finally, there's no such a retirement in the Christian world. You know, Psalms 92, 12 to 14 talks about still being green and fresh, and more importantly, bearing fruit in the old age. My spiritual grandfather's physical father, when he was pretty old, my spiritual grandfather told him, "Dad, don't you think it's time for you to retire?" Because he was very busy. He was a doctor. You know, he was very busy in church and so on. And at that age, he got more and more luncheon. So the son became concerned for him. Told the dad, "Don't you think it's about time for you to retire?" The father told the son, "Well, if I find the word retirement in the Bible, I will immediately retire." Of course, there's no such word in the Bible that talk about retirement. I think so it's important that we continue to bear fruit even in our old age, and we remain fresh and green. You can't bear fruit if you're not fresh and green. So let me conclude by saying that, you know, in God, you can conquer obstacles that you can never think conquerable. I've gone through my life journey of 35 years, and I find that God has been with us every step of the way. And post-retirement from the firm, I also find God that with me in all my decisions all the way. So let me conclude by saying that retire is not spelled E-R-E-T-I-R-E, but R-E-T-Y-R-E. Retread yourself, re-engineer yourself, be fresh, be green, because until God calls us home, we don't retire.
Wow. Absolutely fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so honored. I think all of us here were very, very blessed by your sharing. Thank you so much, Uncle Poh Keat. I know you are a very, very busy man. I know after this you got somewhere else to go also. But thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule to speak to us and to also speak to the younger generation who are listening right now. I hope that you never retire. I hope and I'm looking forward to learn so much more from you as you so openly give and give and give. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you guys catch more content like this. If you want to watch more, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called It's Brandonho. You listen to us on Spotify. You can stream us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts as well. Until next time, this has been Uncle Poh Keat, and this has been Let's Get Real with me, Brandon Ho. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching Let's Get Real. We hope that you've been blessed, inspired and encouraged in one way or another from all the stories that have been shared today.
That's right, if you like what you see here and you want to see more, make sure to like this video, share it with your friend and subscribe for more.
Now, some of you may not know this, but the setup that you see behind the studio, including all the equipments, do not belong to us. We're a small three-man team and we do not take a profit or a pay from this show at all. But hey, we can dream as well, and one day we hope to have our own set, our own studio, including our own equipment. So if you'd like to support this ministry, you can drop your love gifts at the bank details that you see on your screens right now.
Don't forget to earmark Let's Get Real or LGR so that we know that your giving will be used for this show.
Thank you so much in advance. Until next time, God bless.
God bless.